How are you?
Baruch Hashem, really good.
Thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you for having me. It's nice to finally meet the person who's been listening to my music all these years.
Can you bring me there? Music, business, multiple businesses, what?
Yeah.
Bring me there.
So I grew up in a family of Chabad Shluchim. So
Thank you.
Yeah, family of 14. 14. Yeah, I'm one of 14 siblings, and most of which are in Avodas HaKodesh, are all Shluchim. Some in business, but mostly my father, my grandfather, Rabbi J.J. Hecht, who was my grandmother, who ran both of them together ran several Jewish institutions. So communal work was always in our destiny, in our family. I didn't feel so much the drive towards opening a Chabad house, starting a shluchus, but doing shluchus in some capacity has always been part of my destiny. So finding an outlet to do shluchus through creative channels was really my story, my challenge. So it started off as writing, composing, and performing music. I did that for a few years. Came out with an album. I have at least one listener. So and now with all the Spotify algorithms, you can actually get real insight into who's listening to your music. So it's my album was produced almost 2013, and I have about between 5,000 and 6,000 monthly users. To me, that's a lot. It's a nice number, and it's going up. It's going up. So the music is starting to resonate with people. As the years go by, it's like aged wine.
That's
to resonate
crazy
with people.
Because you did something then that it's not like it was then and then that's gone.
Yeah, more people. My educated guess and seeing through the Spotify algorithms is that more people listening to my music now than ever before. And it's growing. I see year over year that the listeners are growing.
Can I tell you why? And I think that your music has a very deep feel, and until someone got the taste of it through more of the modern Jewish music that started kind of bringing in, all of a sudden people have developed the taste buds to be able to experience it, and then all of a sudden, like, whoa, where did this come from?
I think in general, there wasn't much of a market. When I produced the music, there was, I would say, 90% of my audience or potential audience was listening to classical Jewish music, to classic Jewish, music, and maybe 10% were listening to alternative Jewish music. And now I think it's 50-50, honestly, today. With all the new alternative Jewish artists, there are so many of them. I think you have an even split now between people. So I think that's probably one of the reasons, because so started music, did that for a few years. It was really a beautiful run. I had the opportunity to tour in different countries. I played from Hawaii to we did shows in London and Israel, and to BB King's club in New York City. It was a good run, and I pivoted into business.
That's a really interesting. That's like a real pivot. When you're talking about your music, we went into metrics. So I think where you're at now in terms of the work that you're doing is very text sided. So it's interesting to have those. It's a duality. You know what I mean? That's interesting.
Ever since I'm a kid, I've been always very, very fascinated with technology. So I drive an electric car, always had the latest Game Boy, always very, very fascinated with what technology is capable of doing. I look at like Moshiach times, when you think about, Umal Deas Hashem. To me, that's actually a very practical, technical thing. Like when the entire world will be, saturated with the knowledge of God. I mean, that's basically, we're getting into that world today with the hyper-connected world that we live in, the way how much content is being driven, the way campaigns go viral, just the way the whole interconnectivity of the world today. To me, that's just it's a step in it's a Moshiach times. It's a very esoteric
existence. Never touched it before. I mean, this, let's say the new chat thingy. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not like that was enough to like blow people's minds. Like, hold on a second, like the world could change like that.
Yeah. So I was always very fascinated with technology being in some way or another sort of the canvas for Moshe times. and every new innovation that comes out, it's like, so that's how I moved into charity. I was one of the people that helped build charity.com.
Where'd that come from? What was the idea?
Yeah, so the original founder's name was Yehuda Gurewitz. He started it. I met him within was about I think it was at the end of the first year that they were still in private beta. They had to run a few campaigns. I had just come off a stint with my music, but also I was doing some marketing at that point, and immediately fascinated with his ideas and the potential where this can go. And to me, it seemed very what's today is now common world of, let's someone passed, let's raise $1 million to support the family for 30 years, and it's just like, and it's just common. I got a call yesterday from a woman. Her mother, she was in her 60s. Her husband passed away. She wants to raise $1 million for a foundation for this and that and another. To her, it's like, I'm like, how much are you thinking of raising? She goes, I'm thinking about $1 million. But it's like it's
you
not
understand what that is, right?
Well, that just shows where we are as a society today. That this technology, with many other platforms and a whole ecosystem now that has now been developed from this, people just think much bigger, and just people think much broader, and the possibilities are really huge right now in terms of, and that's just because the collective psyche has moved in that direction. It wasn't like it was. So that wasn't the case when we started. Now it's over almost 9-10 years ago since we started charity. That wasn't the case. But when I looked at some of the original successes of these campaigns, and I saw, let's say, Chabad on Campus that raised $20,000 within 6 hours of a campaign, I said, whoa, and it was just some basic, simple technology that essentially broke down the barriers that were there before, right? The distances. So from like deciding, feeling good and deciding, okay, I want to give something to charity, until it actually reached the hands of the person, or the mouths, or the pencil for the educator, whatever it was that money went to use. That distance was, there were so many distances, physical distances, time distances, until it actually made it. And then when you see a campaign like this with some basic code that you put together, what all of a sudden, it's like teleportation, really. It's like all of a sudden, all these seeming barriers get just broken down within seconds, where the money can get there immediately. Hundreds of people can give simultaneously.
And you can get pumped by people's energy. Like you're watching, you know what that thing feels like. You're watching the thing go up, but you're like,
yeah, the communal aspect of it, and the interdependence aspect of it, and the excitement, knowing the positive peer pressure of it, of happening all simultaneously. You're talking about unlocking tzedakah that otherwise would not have been given at massive scale. So when I saw a few of those successes, my imagination just went boom. I was like, if a small Chabad on campus can do this for $20,000 in 5 or 6 hours, right? They were blowing out campaigns. They were 24-hour campaigns, but they were blowing out within hours. This simple equation, just take that to larger organizations or to more broader causes. I was addicted to that. I was addicted to that possibility. And collectively, our small team, we were like, guys, this is just a matter of time because this becomes a global phenomenon. And now we're talking about billions that are being raised. Charity alone has raised over $2.5 billion through its platform, and then all the other platforms together, it's probably $5 or $6 or $7 billion that was raised for within our community. And I would venture to say that I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of that probably would not have been given otherwise. And the proof is in how many everyone's complaining today.
Yeah. I was going to say how incredible people are probably blaming you. Like you're the reason.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I had to leave. Is the people were knocking on my door. Eggs. No.
Yeah. Wait, stop for a second though. But you ever just like stop and think about that? That you had a hand in that?
It's a major skill. I feel very blessed. Yeah, I was at the right place at the right time. That I was able to meet Yehuda and be a part of this. And we had a great team. And they're still there. A lot of them are still working at it. A very special group of people who had this sort of duality where they wanted to do good and do well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do good and do well.
Yeah. And you have to have that because you can want to do good and want to do chesed. And that's it. But then you also want to do well, where you want to do well for yourself. You want to have a good parnasa. You want to be able to give back as well. We had a nice group of people that had that. Seemingly to some, it would be seemingly contradictory to be able to have both of those things. Yeah. And so the group of people that we built didn't see a contradiction. And somehow they sort of gravitated toward us and toward this cause. It was a sort of a magnetic field that brought us together. And the world is just not the same since.
I feel very blessed that I get to hang out with what I think to be the best people in the world. And watching guys that are rocking in their industry. And how this whole platform got started was I was going to meet these incredible people, interviewing them. Half our conversation would be about what we had to talk about. And then they would veer. I wouldn't even take them there. They would veer to spirituality, to Hashem, to things. And I'm like, and I realized, why am I cutting that stuff out? I'm just cutting it out, right? Let me go there for a second. A lot of my guys do their business and then do their chesed. And it's like
separate.
You actually got to put them together.
I feel so blessed that I am in an industry where the business in and of itself is a direct passion and a direct line to chesed and a direct line to making the world a better place.
Which the craziest part of that is, what was it that you did for the charity space? You closed all the gap, so it was direct, right?
Yeah.
But that sounds like the magic sauce.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying,
going back to
why do you need all those things? We feel like we need bureaucracy. Forget the whole situation. Yeah. Knock it all out.
Because I think there's today something very unique about the age that we live in today is that there are many opportunities like this. In an entrepreneurial direction where people, let's see, my kids are really into, YouTube stars. And these are people who are doing directly what they love to do without having to have those, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 10 steps to satisfaction, to happiness. We're living I have it in my role because I am continuing. I've left charity now. I'm started something new, but I'm continuing in the tzedakah space, which is my direct passion. And I think there's lots of opportunities today where people can choose either working in an industry, they can choose to work in an industry that is direct to their passions, or they can skip all that and do something, whether it's, I'm giving an example as a YouTube personality or doing things like that. I think there's just the gray suit and the suitcase ages and having to work for the machine and having to work for the man. Those days are very much behind us. And I think when it comes to exploring what type of job, type of opportunity, and what type of job do you want, what type of future do you want to have, what type of career do you want to have, I think there's just so much more opportunities to work directly within your passion.
Cut out all the middle.
Cut out all the middle business.
Which is so interesting because you never had that opportunity before. I don't think I would have ever had the opportunities I had before if I had to go through the system. You know what I mean? But since I just...
Still be in Kailo. Still be learning in Kailo.
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, that would be the dream. No, but the idea of I think about it all the time, how in the world am I sitting with right? How did this thing happen? God opens up an opportunity and you just got to sort of take it. And I used to tell I was a counselor in camp. I used to tell my campers, as long as you're confident and you have a smile, you could do anything and go anywhere. And I believe that sincerely. They turned it on me. And I had a second grader walking out of the bunk at 2 o'clock in the morning. Shmuly, what do you think you're doing? He said, no, I'm fine. I'll be right back. I said, you cannot pull that on me. That's my trick. You know what I mean? But that idea of if you're doing the right thing and you're confident about it, you could do anything. If you would have brought you back 10 years ago and said, let me tell you something. These neurons that are blowing up in your brain, you think this is really cool? This is going to be $2 to $5 billion in 10 years. But how do you get someone to believe in themselves before? Now it's easy. We're sitting in a cozy chair and we're schmoozing. And I always say, anyone who's on the other side obviously did something really great, right? That's why we're here. But how do you get that guy beforehand, 10 years ago, when your synapses are blazing, but you don't know if it's really going to work? Well, what do you tell to that kid?
you have to plug into what your God-given strengths are. I think people who are confused when it comes to career have yet to truly lead into what are their God-given strengths and be able to unpack what it really is. For me, like, what is it? Like, let's think about it. I started with music, then it was sales. It was a combination of sales, combination of marketing, combination of but beyond all of it, my God-given strength was communication. How to take an idea, how to take a challenge or an opportunity, and how to unpack it and how to communicate it. So when I look back at my 15 years in my career, whether it was through music, through charity, now through Hatch, my new company, I think ultimately I knew I was always good at communication. I was always good at communicating. When I was a kid, I was always in the choir communicating. When I was in camp, I was always in the plays trying to get up there. I had a God-given skill that had really nothing to do with something that it was a gift. It's when you don't sense what that God-given talent is, or if you don't believe that you're given a God-given talent, that's where the challenges come in. But if you have a strong bitachon that Hashem creates us all uniquely special and all uniquely with individual qualities and truly individual qualities. If you believe that and then you discover what that is, then just ride that path and stick to that path. So I've been through different careers, different positions, different anything, but in every career, in every position, what made me excited about it was like, okay, in the music, I'm able to communicate something through a song, communicate something through a tune, through a melody, through a composition, through a narrative, through a story. And then in this space, I'm able to take these organizations who are doing unbelievable, but you have to create a narrative around that. You have to create a goal around that. You have to create like an opportunity for other people to join. How do you take that and how do you communicate? In charity, I was very involved in developing the stories around these organizations, to developing that narrative. In Hatch, I'm doing that in a different way. And you'll jump from job to job. You'll jump from career. You might work at this one company for thing. But even if you're going to jump from job to job, what happens is that when you're tapped into that God-given skill, you perfect it, you refine it, you develop it, you explore it, you enhance it. And that's where I think when you start to see success is where those God-given skills get really nurtured and they start to transcend, that core skill, and they really get to grow. And that's where success starts to happen, right? Some people say, I'm great at real estate. I just have a hush in real estate. I got to think, okay, so whatever that is, whether it's sales or you understand the whole world, when you start to really, really nurture that is when you start to see success. And that's where the mazel comes in, then because your keli opens up.
This part is what I'm crazy about. I was just talking to my team about this. I said, we have a bunch of work. We have different places that we're exploring. And I always find when I get to the place where it feels simplest, the least complicated, is when we do our best work. And right now we're doing a lot of sales videos, right? For companies, sales, recruitment, whatever we're doing. And it got really, really narrow what I need. I need 4 hours with the team. I need someone from ownership, leadership, management, boots on the ground and testimonial. And I need 4 hours to do B-roll. Just tapped in all the way to what I do. Then I have things that are complicated. Can you do this and this and this?
Yes. But I think with you, Laibel, I think your God-given talent is connection. You started with headshots and you're doing the video, but you have a certain way of connecting with people that brings out the best in them. It brings out the best qualities. So in a headshot, it's going to bring out the best smile. In a video, it's going to bring out the best conversation and the best narrative. And that's your God-given skill, is you know how to resonate and connect with other people.
We should show couples how beautiful they were. Then a headshot is bring out the essence to show someone how beautiful they are. Then what I do is my clients it's a big investment to do any sort of project with us. I'm telling you, my guys, I won't take them unless they can prove to me that they can take 10 times what they're going to invest in us over the next 2 years. When they get their video, I tell you, they're pumped because they know they're going to make sales. The one thing they're most excited about is they see a side of their company they never got to see before. They're in the weeds all day, and all of a sudden they step back. They see the beauty of their employees, the beauty of their culture. It's all really, really there. So I'm trying to figure out now, what is my next step? It's got to be in communication. It's got to be in connection. But it's not connection. It's the amount of connection that allows the other person to see their character traits, to see how special or beautiful they are through weddings, headshots, video. And I don't know what the next move is. But that thing has been playing up here.
You'll figure it out.
Right.
You're doing great. Don't rush it. But the more you nurture that core given skill, the more the clearer the next step will become. That's what it does. It opens up pathways, not by exploring new things, opening up new things or trying this. It doesn't really open up new pathways. I want to try this. I want to try that. I'm going to try baseball.
That's not doing it.
Yeah,
right?
I want to try taxes. Do things. That's not what opens up really opportunities. That just ends up wasting time, and it just confuses. Right. By going deeper into your core skills, I listen. I've been blessed. I don't know if I've been blessed by really knowing what that was, and it's subtle. I know I didn't always. You don't always know what you're doing when you're doing it.
Right.
Eventually, you got to figure it out. What are you doing if you really want to? Take it to the next level. If you really want to, success, whatever it is.
Moshe, I really appreciate you. This was an incredible experience.
Wow, that was quick. That's it.
Thank you so much. I generally end these with,
Beautiful.
With gifting you a portrait. Would that be okay?
Yeah. Portrait of what?
You.
Oh, me? Okay. I was like, whose portrait am I getting?
Let's go.